So a little while ago, I did a review of what looked to be a revolutionary new take on the humble tire lever. But a bunch of you guys were quick to point out that it wasn't actually a new concept and that the Tyre Glider came first. So today, we'll take a look at the Tyre Glider and see if the original really is the best. Good afternoon and welcome to the review. Before we take a look at the Tyre Glider, it's time for your usual reminder to consider subscribing to the channel. Over here you'll find all manner of videos related to bike packing and bike touring. That means product reviews, tips, tricks and tutorials, and even the occasional overnighter or trip report. And in 3 months' time, I'll be leaving on the around the world bike trip of a lifetime, which I'll document and upload right here. So if that's the kind of thing you're into, hit the button. The Tyre Glider comes in this basic cardboard packaging with some instructions on the back. And not much else other than a QR code to take you to the website. So you'll notice that it looks pretty different from a traditional tire lever. It's got all sorts of crazy angles going on. And that's all by design, because this tire lever is dual purpose. Not only will it help you remove a tire from the rim, but it can also help you get it back on again. Now this can be really useful as a lot of tires can be pretty difficult to fit, especially tubeless specific tires that require a tight seal to work properly, or even just touring tires that are really stiff due to their tough construction. To remove a tire, you insert this end and it gives you plenty of leverage to pull the bead over the rim. Then you just slide it around the rim and the bead should pop off. To push the tire back onto the rim, you simply hook this little hook here onto the rim and then push it around the rim. And this little bump here is going to guide the bead into place. There's a lot more going on with this thing than the other tire lever that I tested. So let's go test it out and see if that makes a difference. All right, so before we can give this little guy a go, let's get all the air out of this tire. Okay, so the way this is going to work is we're going to push this under the bead and then push it around the rim to remove the tire. Okay. All right, looks like we've got a grip of it now. Okay, whoops, lost it. Lost it again. So that went all right. It was a little bit harder than I thought, but I'm sure once you get the technique down, it'll be pretty easy. Now we're going to use this part here to reinstall the bead. Now this is the bit I'm the most curious about because this is the bit that seems to have taken the most engineering. And I reckon this is going to be pretty good. So we're just going to take this hook here and put it onto the bead, like so, and just push this around the rim. Let's see how it goes. Oh man, that is so easy. And now we're at the tight bit at the end. Not a problem. All right, so that was pretty impressive, but this tire is quite old. So I'm gonna take it off again and we're gonna get a brand new tire and try and install that and see how it goes. All right, that time was a lot easier. There's definitely a little bit of a knack to it, but only took me 2 tries and I've got it down. All right, so this is a brand new, unused Schwalbe Marathon Plus. So this is the highest protection you can get. These are really tough tires. They're not particularly grippy. They're a bit plasticky and they're super burly. They're designed for touring and they can be quite stiff to get onto the rim. So let's see if the old Tyre Glider can make quick work of that. So once again, just hook it onto the bead like this, and I'm gonna try and get my body weight behind it this time to push this stubborn tire on. Let's see how it fares. Okay, so far so good. All right, so it's at the tight part now, that last stubborn bit. Let's see if we can make it happen. Boom! Oh, get off of there. Well, color me impressed. That did really, really well. All right, so that was a pretty brief demonstration, but hopefully it was a good representation of how effective this thing really is. Now, what I didn't show was how it handles tubeless setups. And that's because I didn't want to mess with a tire that I'd already gotten set up and risk spilling sealant or whatever. But I did manage to grab a couple of clips a few weeks ago when I was doing a tubeless setup, and the Tyre Glider made it so much easier. I was really struggling with a particularly tough set of tires, but with a little bit of jiggery pokery, I was able to do it with the Tyre Glider. So let's talk about my likes and my dislikes, and then we'll wrap this up. So I like that the Tyre Glider is a one-piece solution, and this is all you need. Unlike with traditional tire levers where you might need 2 or even 3 to get the job done. The build quality is great, it's super sturdy, it's nice and compact, and it makes putting on a stubborn tire so much easier. And I particularly like this flat section that you push your palm against. It's super comfortable and it allows you to get plenty of force behind the push. Now, in terms of dislikes, I will say that it can still be a little bit tough to get a tire off with this. Now, I'm not saying it's any more difficult than a regular tire lever, but it does require some brute force from time to time. That brand new touring tire that this put on really easily earlier, it had a bit more trouble getting it off again. But I did get there eventually, I just had to use a lot of brute force. And related to that point, I just don't find it too comfortable to hold when you're removing a tire. It isn't very ergonomic, and I kind of struggle to get a good grip on it, which could be a contributing factor in difficulty removing a tire. And lastly, bit of a minor one, but as far as I can tell, this isn't ambidextrous. It does seem to be an exclusively right-handed tool. Now that doesn't affect me, but it does limit its usefulness to the left-handed segment of the population. All right, so let's wrap this up. I really like this. It's really cleverly engineered and it's very satisfying to use. And the highlight for me is just how easy this makes it to fit a particularly stubborn tire. I think that's the standout feature. It does a great job of removing tires, although it can take a bit of muscle. I think its value there is that you only need this one tool instead of 2 or 3 like with a conventional tire lever, and there's a set technique to using it that works every time. And it's kind of hard to say with there being so many variables, but I do think that this is going to be easier than a regular tire lever 90% of the time. So I think that makes it worth it. But again, the point where this thing really clicked for me was when I used it to fit a tubeless enduro tire that I was having a really hard time with. And I can't believe that you don't see more widespread use of this thing just because of that. The Tyre Glider is definitely a game changer, and this one will be making its way into my toolkit. All right, that's it for today, guys. If you enjoyed the video or you found it useful, give it a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button if you'd like to see more bikey content. Cheers!